11-0. We
I
winning
don't
all
know,
11.
dude. I don't know. We're a little early for 11-0.
It's not too early, dude.
JB and AC. The energy was awesome. Those two are just like really finding their groove.
4 straight overall wins. $100,000. Adam Cianciarulla. Checkered flag and Justin Brayton. Cianciarulla has won the 2019 Pro Motocross Championship. He's gonna do it to become the oldest winner in the history of Supercross.
Well, Justin Brayton, round 1, Fox Raceway in the books. Pretty predictable. Hayden Deegan, Jett Lawrence, just doing what they do. But let's talk about our week first. You told me before we came on air today, you had a little watch party at the house, a couple margaritas.
Man, we had fun. It was there's just so much hype going into the first round of Pro Motocross. The 450 class, there was so much talk about it, and I thought, what better way to enjoy that than from home? Little watch party with my friends here in Charlotte. Had a few margaritas, so I was feeling pretty good, but I stretched it out throughout the day. We definitely had a few, feeling pretty good, and watched some great racing with some good friends. So it was a fun day, and we'll get into the racing. There's so much to talk about, but I had a watch party. You picked up a dirt bike.
I did.
And little turn down elbow tuck. I was feeling that. Looked good.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it. We've been talking about it on the podcast since we started this thing, but my bike was sitting at Kawasaki for a year essentially since I called it quits at the end of 2024. So went and picked it up. I have a bike in the garage. Went and rode. So Nick Way, my old trainer Nick, his son
Legend.
Vincent, legend. His son Vincent rides now. He was doing the SMX Next thing. He did amateur day at Paula or at Fox Raceway, and Nick has been helping out with the track a little bit for the national. So we were able to go out there. I believe it was last Tuesday, and kind of just ride the national prep, the national layout, but it was flat. It was flat. It had those big big outsides all bermed up. So I was all over the clutch, dude, revving the bike. I felt great. I probably rode for maybe 30 minutes, and it's crazy. And I suppose it'll always be this way because I've done so many laps, and we all have so much muscle memory. But when I got on the bike, I'm like, when I sat on it and I started it, it was riding in the pits. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do the jumps, dude.
Come on.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not exaggerating too much. I felt really uncomfortable. And then you go out there and you do 2 laps, and it's like everything's automatic again. So I honestly felt pretty normal. I felt pretty normal on the bike. There's a little weakness in the left shoulder was affecting my Insta banger that I posted. Told Nick Way, I said, just go. It's about to be done riding. And I'm like, oh, I can't leave here without content.
That's
so
right.
I just told him to go. I'm great at the angles, dude. I'm like, just go sit on this jump right here. And don't, some of you old guys like to turn the phone sideways and shoot vertical, which is terrible for the Instagram algorithm.
Wait, was that a pointed old at me? Like you said you, like me?
Yeah, you guys.
Okay.
All
just making
you
sure
guys.
less than 5 minutes into the pod and there's already old jokes, but okay. Yep.
So we had the phone vertical, and I was able to get a little Insta clip there, a little turn down over the tabletop. But man, riding's hard. The track was flat, wasn't a bump on it, and I probably did 5 laps in a row, about 80%, dude. And I was breathing pretty heavy.
Did we go paddle or no paddle?
No paddle. No paddle. In fact, I believe it's stock suspension. I have no idea what's done. It's got a pipe on it. I have no idea if it's what motor's in there. It could be stock, for all I know. But I had a lot of fun riding. I have not washed my bike yet, which is a problem.
Yeah, that's pretty
in the
normal.
garage. Yeah. And yesterday I went to Lowe's, bought a pressure washer.
Wow.
Went to need to go to Temecula Motorsports to pick up a gas can. Don't have a gas can. I've got a toolbox, but no tools.
This is great.
Yeah,
This is
so
great.
I loaded my bike. Maybe we'll put that in our YouTube clip here. I have a video of me loading my own motorcycle.
Did you have
Not
your own
good,
ramp?
dude. Yeah.
You did
Oh
have
yeah.
a ramp. Okay.
I had a ramp, and it was a struggle. My back, it's affecting my golf now. My back's blown out. Speaking of golf, which I don't even know how that's possible, dude. And it bothers me. I'm gonna be honest. It bothers me because
What?
I live on a golf course. I have a golf cart. I'm like super invested in the game. You've got a family, 3 kids, a wife, 5 different jobs, and then you just go out on the golf course, play one time, and you're almost in the 70s?
Yeah, man. Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
That's crazy, dude. You athletes, I don't get it. I don't relate.
It was so fun. I went, you know, what's funny is, so there's a lake north of Charlotte called Lake Norman. A lot of people have heard about it, know about
Oh
it.
yeah.
And there's a golf course on it, the Peninsula. It's a private course. And ironically, when I first moved here to ride for Joe Gibbs Racing, I rented a house on the course. It's 18th tee box. But since it's a private course, I never played it. And I've been here for since 2009, nearly 20 years now, and I've never played the course. And I got an opportunity to play it last week. My good buddy Joel Suggs, shout out to Joel. He had me out, and I had such an awesome time. And the course was closed for I believe like a year. Totally redid everything, renovated it, and it was unbelievable. So much fun. And you know, AC, that the nicer the course, the more engaged you can be in the game. Like, I really wanted to play well. I was focused on every shot, because that is where my golf game goes south, is about hole 12 or 13. I start to get bored. The course isn't in great shape, and you're like already thinking about the next thing. Where I was fully locked in, and I shot pretty good on the front nine, and the back was good, but I think it was number 16. I had like 220 in. It was sort of like somewhat of an island green. Or was that 8? No, that was 18. Sorry.
Okay.
So number 18, if I birdie it, I shoot 79. Par up, shoot 80. Par 5. There was a little water on the left. I hit my drive perfect. I had about 220 in, but it was sort of an island green, but you could kind of bail out to the right.
Yep.
220. So I hit my hybrid, and I'm like, if I hit this thing on the mark, it'll go 220. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Should I play it over the water? So I played it a little bit right, pin high, chipped it on, missed the birdie putt, parred it for an 80. I've
Dude,
never
80?
shot in the 70s, but I've shot 80, I don't know, 100 times, I feel like.
We talked about on the show last week, but after my ass kicking at the member, just a couple weekends ago now, the game's been slumping. The game's been slumping. I went out there, played skins on Friday. Some of my friends here at the club shot 93, dude. I shot a 50 on the front. 50.
93?
50. Yeah, I haven't shot above 90 in, I don't know, 8 months. It was not good, but we did play skins, and I birdied 18, so I was okay with it.
You're back
Played
on
the
track.
Sunday, saw a lot of riders. Yesterday, Road to Recovery, Whiskey Throttle, Ryder Cup tournament. Appreciate David Pingree and Jimmy Button for having us all out for a good cause, for Jerry Robin, of course, and a lot of other injured guys. Super fun group. So Levi Kitchen's team won. Actually, saw him out there, and man, it's always interesting seeing all the riders like right after they raced. You know, I was honestly surprised I spoke with Levi for a little bit. I was surprised to even see him out there. I obviously had a really bad day, really tough first moto, and then bike problem second moto, DNF, in a huge points hole. But we were talking about it last week. He's so laid back, dude. Like, if that was me, if I just had that day like he did yesterday, I guess for a good cause, I probably would have showed up, but I would have had a worse attitude than he did. So it's good to see. Talk to Jett a little bit. I'm actually playing golf with Jett here in about an hour. It should be fun. But dude, what a weekend! And It's funny. I feel like once we get 10, 12 rounds into Supercross, it's like this slow anticipation for outdoors starts to build, and it's a total reset in terms of excitement, at least for me.
Oh yeah, yeah, and not only for the riders but the fans too. I mean, for you and I, like it's a great reset, and I don't know if we've ever seen this type of, maybe not hype's not the right word, but anticipation for round one, mainly in the 450 class, just because there's so many injuries and then guys were coming back, and not just random guys, the 10th place guys, literally the championship favorites, a few of them were injured in Supercross, coming back to motocross. And honestly, they pretty much all performed. They performed great. And I can't stress enough to everyone listening and watching this how difficult it is to not be on your razor's edge and have that, just that 1% extra little sharpness of racing. There's nothing like it. So if you come off Supercross, you think about a guy like Chase Sexton or Cooper Webb, Justin Cooper, guys like that, raced all Supercross. They're still sharp. They're still on that racer's mentality. They don't have to, really get in a couple rounds to kind of get things going again. Where you talk about Jett and Eli and Hunter and Jorge and Jason Anderson, and these guys, it's their first race in a long time. They pretty much all performed. I mean, we'll get into obviously Prado and things like that, but I mean, what can you say about Jett? Do we just start there, AC? We just start right there? 1-1 on the day, no problem. ACL.
What can you do, man? What can you do? The guy doesn't have any weaknesses. I don't understand. I watch him, and I think the kids call this glazing. I'm about to glaze here real quick, but dude, he is maybe the first professional dirt bike racer ever that doesn't have a weakness. Like, it doesn't matter what the track is. It doesn't matter what injury he's coming off of. Nothing matters. He has proven time and time again, and Tomac gave him a run, but he's proven time and time again that he's the best we've ever seen. Best we've ever seen on a dirt bike. And I think we got to start at maybe one of the most overlooked parts of his game, and that's the start.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time him and Hunter Lawrence go to the starting gate, they believe without a shadow of a doubt that they are getting the whole shot. When is the last time you've seen Jett start outside the top three? Like, especially in pro motocross.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in order to get a start at this level. I mean, you essentially have to get the best start of your life.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well said. That's so true.
I mean, it's the truth. Like, there's so many times that, especially at the 450 level, 250 you can get away with a little more, but at the premier class level, if you don't get every little thing, reaction time, your first shift, wheeling in the hole in front of the gate, keeping your weight forward, I always liked to have my front tire just like this far off the ground. You can't go too low because you'll hit a bump, front will come up. You go too high, you end up going into a wheelie, then having a double clutch. So it's all these tiny little things that have to go right. And that's one of the most impressive things to me. It's just the fact that he gets out of the gate, puts himself in a good position every time. JB, have you seen anything like it?
No, I haven't. And what's crazy is the only guy that's truly challenged him on the starts, especially this weekend, was his brother, Hunter. And actually, Pork, can you pull up the second Moto 450 class? They had like an overhead view of the start.
Dude, Hunter was gone.
Gone. Absolutely gone. His jump out of the gate was perfect. And then I do hear a lot of people say, oh, the Hondas just have things figured out on the start. Well, I can tell you firsthand, I've ridden that motorcycle. I rode Jett's bike a few times in Supercross. I did starts on it. ACU were there in Indy, did some starts on it. I've been on that team for a few years. And those motorcycles are great off the start, but they're not magic. Like, it's not absolute magic and you can throw anybody on it. I think, this past Supercross season, you think about Dean Wilson. Dean never got great starts on it. And I just think Jett and Hunter are so incredibly good. And then I also remember that Honda 250, when Jett and Hunter were winning motocross races on it and winning their titles, you could arguably say that it wasn't the fastest motorcycle on the track. There you see Hunter. Look how far out ahead he is right there.
I mean, it's a bike lane.
It's at least a bike. It's unbelievable across the stripe. That's amazing. But going back to their 250 career, and Adam, you know this, to get great starts on a 250, you have to not only have to have the motorcycle, but you have to have technique, like all of it. You have to have a great position on the gate. You have to have a great, not a hole out in front of it. Like there's all these things that you have to have, and they got great starts all through their 250 career. So I just want to give them kudos for just their skills, because I do hear a lot of people say the Hondas are just great off the start. They are really good, but shout out to Hunter and Jett for perfecting it and knowing exactly where the RPMs are at, knowing when to get their shift, getting a great jump. That start right there was maybe one of the best I've ever seen from Hunter.
Yeah, you really can't get any better than that. And I'm glad we're bringing this point up, and I think that'll really put it in perspective for a lot of our listeners out there that just maybe ride casually, race casually. It really is at the premier class level. You have, I mean, it's perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It is perfection in order to get to the first turn first. And so that to me is one of the main reasons why, and of course we've seen Jett come from the back, but it's rare because he always puts himself up there. So if you're Eli and if you're Chase, anybody, Prado, anybody that's kind of has thoughts of winning this championship, that stresses you out, dude. Because every time you go to the gate, you know they're going to be up there. There's no, you're not waiting to capitalize on a mistake, because it doesn't happen. Like it just doesn't happen, which I find so impressive. And then with Jett, specifically in the second moto, the way that, and Eli, we'll get into that. Eli rode great. I thought, historically one of his worst tracks, and he put up a really good fight there until about the last 5 laps. But one of the things, Jett, you could tell he was managing his effort, and he's done this a lot throughout the course of his career. He's just done exactly what he's needed to do, which is impressive in itself, because that normally takes years and years and years to gain that type of discipline, to have a calm enough mind when you're on the track to make those moves. And you could tell when Eli started to make a run there in the beginning of the race, and he got up alongside him in the rollers, like the next 3 corners from Jett, where it's like the fastest I've ever seen anybody go on a dirt bike.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, if you're Tomac, you got to be happy with the day, of course. But it's like every time Jett gets challenged like that, he proves that he can go to another level. And just watching Jett ride, kind of, I guess, his kind of settled in pace. There's different times in a pro motocross race where you have to sprint for a few turns or a lap, or if you pass a rider that's super aggressive, you gotta get away from him, right? So these little sprints, but his settled pace, say 15 minutes into a race, it looks like he's riding at 80%, 75%. And so to me, it looks so repeatable. And kind of a stark contrast to somebody like a Tomac, who I am not taking anything away from at all. What he does has clearly worked for him, but it looks like Eli is going really fast, and it looks like Jett's going slow. JB,
yeah, no, you're spot on. And here's an interesting take, because a lot of my friends that I had over this weekend, a couple have never watched a motorcycle race in their life. I have a couple neighbors that I've gotten into Supercross and motocross. They started watching a lot last year, but we had a few other friends over that literally had never. One of them's a lawyer from New York City that just moved down a couple years ago, never watched the race. And I was kind of explaining it to him, explaining Jett, explaining Eli, and he specifically mentioned, like, they ride totally different, huh? And that's somebody, I mean, it's not hard to see, right? That's my point, is like, it's not hard to see. And guys like us that have followed it our whole lives watch it, and we just appreciate how Jett rides. And at one point, I think it was qualifying. It might have been the first moto, but I was watching Jett for like half a lap, and I noticed, I'm like, guys, he literally hasn't even put his foot down yet. He was just riding with his feet on the pegs. And then to your point about it looks so repeatable. I've had this theory for a while, and I mentioned it to Johnny O, who's Jett and Hunter's trainer, a couple of years ago, that in a mountain bike race, look, Johnny O was amazing and on two, he can do anything on two wheels, right? The guy's a legend, mountain bike racer, and obviously
And a
very
super nice
successful in
guy too.
supercross and motocross. Yeah, just one of the best guys in our sport. And I'm like, Osho, it looks like Jett is at a mountain bike race or the Tour de France or something where you let the guys behind you not catch you, but you just kind of ride 80% or whatever. And then as soon as they catch you, you do an all-in effort for 20 seconds and then you can chill again. And it just breaks the guy behind you. That's what cycling is. I've mountain bike raced for a long time. And that's literally what I would try to do is you would just yo-yo the guys behind you. And sooner or later, it was just too much and they couldn't go with you anymore. It looks like that's what Jett is doing on a motocross track now, is using these cycling tactics, and it looks so effortless. And then to your point, Eli almost passes him, and the next 3 turns are like something we've never seen before. We're just like, what? He's got 2 seconds on him again that quick? So it's so fun for us to watch, and I just appreciate it so much because like you said earlier about you riding, Paula, smooth track, and it's hard. Imagine how hard that track was, and he made it look that easy.
And I think James Stewart was on the call this weekend, did a great job. But one of the things that he said that I really liked was after the finish line, you go into those rollers, that tight section before the mechanics area.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very tight, and it's a very awkward section. It's just an awkward section. It's been revised a little bit over the years at Fox Raceway, but it kind of stays the same. It's kind of just a weird section there. And one of the things James was saying was, like, listen to Jett's bike and listen to how low in the RPMs he is. And one of the things he said was that takes a lot of discipline. And why that takes a lot of discipline is imagine you are out front and you are leading Eli Tomac, one of the greatest racers of all time. He's all over the clutch, all over the revs, and all around the track. You're hearing that right behind you, lap after lap after lap.
Very distracting.
Very distracting.
It should be.
You can't even hear yourself think. I've been there. I've been in front of Eli. It's like you feel like you're I don't know, banging drums in like a small room. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But the fact that even just a little example, like a little section like that Jett is able to slow down, to be disciplined enough to not have to be all over the revs, to not have to feel like he's got to get on the gas super hard. It's very light braking on the gas. Like when he gets on the gas, he gets on it so lightly that it doesn't upset the balance of the bike. The rear end doesn't sink down, which is kind of a contrast to Tomac, who runs his back end really stiff, really high, because he gets on the gas so hard in the middle of the turns. And so I just thought that was a great point that James made. It's just the discipline that it takes. And look, Jett's been doing this his whole life, and has learned these skills over time, but the discipline it takes in that moment to kind of stick to your game plan, stay low RPMs, do your deal, go slower to go faster. It's just impressive. It really is impressive. And Tomac, he rode amazing on one of his probably least favorite tracks. And yeah, I guess that kind of, that tighter stuff, I don't think that's Eli's, that's not really his wheelhouse. And one of the things, and James said it a lot on the broadcast, is I just saw Eli, which I love to see it, but every time he got close to Jett, you could tell he got excited. You could tell, which it was cool. I put a smile on my face because when I was watching Eli and his posture, when he got close to Jett, I could see somebody that was having fun on a dirt bike, that was just stoked to be there, stoked to be in the battle. Whether he wins or loses, he was going to do his absolute best. And I think when he got close to Jett, he was just rushing his turns just a little bit. And a lot of those ruts at Fox Raceway have those big hooks right in the middle, just because the dirt is still a little bit softer. It just doesn't get those super solid ruts. And you could tell just Eli was getting into the middle of the turns, and he was getting on the gas so hard, dumping the clutch so hard that at times it looked like he was almost falling off the motorcycle on exit of the turns. And I know after the section kind of where they do the step up, they go to the top of the hill, they go down over the roller, over the tabletop, and then they make that flat 180 right where it used to go up the hill. I saw it there every lap. He was just so excited and on the gas so hard that he was kind of flailing all over the bike a little bit. So things like that, I think that is just going to come from kind of getting back into the flow of racing.
Yeah, here's the thing I like most about Eli is you touched on a little bit, but his attitude and willingness to be there at the front right now, and just he genuinely seems happy, and he looks spunky to me. He looked spunky on the bike. He looked like he was ready to battle up front, and that's where me mentioning earlier about just that sharpness of racing, I find it so interesting that Eli can ride by himself in Colorado. Probably not a super rough track, I wouldn't think, because riding by yourself, it doesn't develop into really rough conditions. You can do all that prep by yourself, and he's done this forever, right? But it still just baffles me that he can show up, race with Jett at the front for 30 minutes on a rough, gnarly track. Like, how? Like, how
doesn't make sense.
How does he do that?
And every time you see, he's a bit of a enigma on social media. He'll throw a video in there like once every 6 months, but every time you see the track, and maybe this is on purpose because I know the Tomacs, John Tomac, Eli, they're very intentional with the things that they do. So everything that they do absolutely has a reason to it. If the track's smooth, there's a reason why it's smooth. And we don't know, obviously we don't know what these intentions are, but every time you see his track on social media, videos, whatever, it's a highway. Yeah. It's flat, dude. And he's doing like 80 miles an hour around the outsides and the turn, like a big berm, like not even a rut most of the time. So I've always wanted the same thing. I know Jeremy Martin used to train out there a little bit, kind of back in his heyday, but for Zach Osborne, but for the most part, Eli's done it all by himself up there, which I don't know about you, Justin, but I would get my ass kicked if I rode by myself for 3 months coming off an injury, and then I just showed up at round 1 of Pro Motocross, dude. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, that's why I find it so interesting is just that, because your heart rate out there, look, if I'm riding by myself, my heart rate would be about 10 beats lower than it would be if you and I were out there battling.
Absolutely.
And so now you show up to the race, you're going faster than you've went in 3 months' time, or however much prep he's gotten. You're battling with the best guy in the world, Jett Lawrence, the fastest guy in the world, and you're 30 minutes into the moto. And look, Jett pulled away a little bit the last few laps, but still, I was so impressed with that. And then to get your bike set up that good, to be that comfortable, we're all, look, at the highest level, we're all a little bit finicky about the motorcycle, right? Especially round 1 and round 2, you're trying to figure it out. Plus Paula, very hard to set up a motorcycle at, not really any conditions that you're going to ride like that, except if you're riding at Paula. And Jett's been riding with Hunter down in Florida and Chance Hymas and Seth Hammaker and these guys. Just imagine the battles they have on a super gnarly rough track. So they're going to be prepared. But I just find it so interesting that he can show up and be that fit, that comfortable on his motorcycle, and just be that good for that long. And he's done it for a long time, but it still surprises me. So in saying all that, I cannot wait for these next few rounds when Eli gets to tracks that he really enjoys. He just looks like he has a point to prove. He looks eager to race at the front and really battle for this championship. So I can't wait. And the one thing that I think that could hinder him is just Jett and Hunter's starts. I think they're going to start ahead of him 90% of the time.
I couldn't agree more. And it's been cool to see last couple of weeks. Eli did an interview, I think, with Swap Moto Live, and was talking about how he is definitely racing next year, and he's talking about just talking about how these injuries have kind of extended his career, his willingness to do it. So I think that's great too. We get a
Love
whole
it.
nother year of a super motivated Eli. I mean, he's going to. I'm interested to see how much better Eli can be, because
Mhm.
as amazing as he's been, going forward, if he is going to win another championship or another 2 championships, he's going to have to be better than he's ever been
Yeah.
in his life. And obviously into his 30s now, so it'll be interesting to see if Eli can make that jump. But JB, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Chase Sexton, man. What just a terrible way to start the season. He came out in qualifying practice, and I thought the bike didn't look good. I thought he looked really uncomfortable on the motorcycle. To me, it looked like the rear end was off the ground more times than not. And with Pro Motocross, you want that rear tire to be on the ground as much as possible, going through the bumps. And so I noticed his back end was really upsetting the balance of the bike, kind of coming into the corners, kind of disrupting some of that roll speed that we talk about. If you think back to like a Denver Supercross and what are Chase's conditions, well, he's got to be able to carry that speed into the corner, and he needs a motorcycle to allow him to do that. So started off the day, I think he was 10th in the first qualifier. And then right off the bat, Moto 1, the goggles come off. Not sure what happened there, if it was a rock that cracked his lens, if there was dirt inside the goggle. Maybe I don't, Justin. But to me, the crash happened because he was being indecisive about when to come in and get his goggles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You cannot, especially Fox Raceway, there's so many rocks in the dirt. I was just praying for him to pull in every lap. I'm like, dude, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Pull in, come from 30th. You're still going to get probably 5th or 6th, and I just thought that, of course I can't know for sure, but if that was me, that's what would have happened, because I'd have been indecisive. It's either you got to make a decision, come in, get the goggles, or don't, or you're staying out. And I thought he was just a little bit kind of in between on what he wanted to do there. Lands off the tabletop, and that wasn't neutral.
No,
Justin, that was not neutral.
No, that definitely wasn't neutral. And whatever it was, whatever happened to the goggles had to be really bad, because you and I both know that early in a moto, the last thing you do is throw your goggles. That's literally the last thing you do. So whatever it was, and I'm sure Chase will say publicly, or maybe you'll talk to him, Adam, but it was such a bummer, because you think about, really, on this podcast last week, we said the first 4 motos of the season for Chase, that was going to decide it all, right, for the championship. Well, we're 2 motos in, and it's the championship's basically over. And it's such a bummer, because, and I feel bad, because we are critical of Chase a lot, but we also praise him a lot. And that's the only reason I've ever been critical of Chase, is just because his ceiling is higher than anybody in the world's, maybe except for Jett, or they're 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
So when things like that happen, I get bummed for him. And then as a fan, I'm like, man, I want to see this. I want to see these giants go head to head, because we didn't really see it in Supercross. It's been a little bit, right? Jett went out last year in motocross. Chase wins the title. This year, Coop wins the Supercross title. And now it's like we had all this hype of Eli's back and Jett's back and Hunter's back, and here comes Prado. But we still have Chase, who's coming in healthy off of a pretty successful Supercross season. And then to get that ripped from us, like I said, as a fan, really, what was it, lap 1, right? Is it lap 1 or 2? His goggles go off, and then you just knew it was going to be an uphill battle from there. and then landing with his foot on the rear brake. I agree with you, Adam. It was just when is a good time to come in. There's not a good time to come in, but I will say the more he could weather that storm, because there was a little gap. I forget who was ahead of him. I think it might have been Hunter. Hunter got a little bit of a gap on Chase, but I think it was Eli or somebody right behind Chase. So if you could just go a couple laps like that and get the front 10 guys spread out, now instead of pulling into the pits to get goggles, you lose 20 positions or 15 positions. If you can spread everybody out, maybe he only loses 5. So I don't know if he was indecisive on that. I would have to think that's what it was, but I'm with you, man. That's the last thing that you can do is ride around Paula Raceway without any goggles. Not a good situation.
And we've talked about it with Chase. We talked about it on the podcast last week. You said specifically the first 4 motos are going to be really important. And I think that for whatever reason, there is some type of, and look, I get it, the guy's good. There is some type of mental hurdle, and I said this last week, that Chase has to get over to beat Jett. And I thought why I was so bummed to see that happen to Chase was I thought that he was so good at the end of Supercross. He had all of that momentum. Jett coming off an injury. Like, if there's going to be a time where you can, for Chase to get in there to beat Jett, make him question himself a little bit, you would think this would have been that time, right? Start of the series, all the momentum on Chase's side, Eli and Jett both coming off the couch, and man, dirt bikes, it's so quick. Things change so quick because now it's a complete opposite. All the momentum is back on Jett's side, Eli's side. Chase is essentially out of this championship. There's no way. There's no way that barring anything catastrophic, if Jett is able to race all the races, it's a very, very small likelihood that him or Eli lose that many points to Chase if he does come back at Hangtown, which we still don't know on that either. But yeah, just disappointed, and I think that's what everybody wanted to see. Everybody wanted to see Jett, Chase, and Eli. Those guys are pretty. I would give Jett the nod a little bit, but those guys are pretty evenly matched. And I just hope we see Chase come back soon so we can see that.
Yeah. And for Jett, it didn't take long. It took the first qualifying session to
2 seconds, dude,
to put the stamp down. I mean, 2 seconds faster than everybody. And like you said, Chase was 10. So that right there already starts a little bit of mental games. But if you're Chase, you don't have to look very far to see how you race Jett, and that's Eli Tomac. Literally gives his best.
Yep.
There's no mental weakness. It's just, I'm going to give my best, and sometimes it's not going to be good enough. Other times it is. And that's what you love to see about Eli. He tried to go toe-to-toe with Jett, and he did, like we said, for about 28 to 29, maybe 30 minutes, and Jett got the best of him. But imagine the next time they are in that situation, and then the next time, and then sooner or later, Eli gets the best of him. But it seems like before the gate drops, there's something there, like you said, with Chase, and Jett. And I can't imagine, man. It's hard. You're literally racing, in my opinion, one of the best we've ever seen throw a leg over a motorcycle in Jett Lawrence. If you have to race him all summer long, all year long, the rest of your career, it's not easy.
Yeah, look, I couldn't do it. No way. But Chase, I think the reason why we talk about Chase, we wouldn't talk if Chase was so clearly never going to be on Jett's level, we wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like it would just be, wow, Chase is, consistent. He's always like, it's because there's times where we see him and we're like, oh, well, maybe that's the best guy in the world.
Yeah.
Right there. So that's the whole reason why Chase gets criticism. But I will say he does a great job with the way that he handles it. And I think he's won a lot of people over. I think he's won a lot of fans over in the last year or so, because no matter what, shows up, does his best. He takes the criticism, and it's not like he's lashing out on the podium or in the press conference. He's always professional. And so he's handled it about the best that he can. And obviously he's trying. He's trying to do, everything that he can. But I do think there will come a time. I do think that Chase is just too good. He's just too good to not kind of reach that next little step that he has to do. But let's talk about some other guys. What do you think of, look, Jorge Prado? He had an injury in the offseason, comes into Supercross, gets hurt very early in the season, takes a lot of time off the bike. Not sure exactly how long he had on the motorcycle before Pro Motocross, but definitely will give him the benefit of the doubt, because coming over here, learning a new series, a new culture, and really not having that great of an offseason, already coming back off an injury. So there's some steps that he needs to take, I think, to kind of get the momentum rolling. But what do you think, JB? Was he worse than you thought or better?
It's a great question, because I think if I had to pick one or the other, I would say worse than I thought, but also about kind of where I thought. I haven't been that, I don't want to say I haven't been that high on Jorge Prado, because he's obviously an amazing rider. I just think there's more to it than looking at his MXGP World Championships and looking at Motocross of Nations, and you can look at those things, and we can talk about those things, but I feel like they're a little bit irrelevant, because now we come over here, you're living in a new country. If everything was all the same as far as team and all that, and then you just moved over here and were racing, that would be different. That would be totally different. For me, going to a whole new motorcycle team, all new staff, new suspension guy, new engine guy, new place to live, new grocery stores to go to, new food to get used to, new motorcycle to get used to, new culture, new tracks, less practice. Like, there's so many things working against him, that I do think that's about where he went 7-6 on the day, 6th overall. I think we give him a pass. And honestly, I give him a 2025 pass. I'm not going to judge anything he does for all of 2025, because he obviously got hurt in Supercross. Now he's fighting even more of an uphill battle. Now he's going to all these new motorcycle tracks and all this. So he's literally a rookie, in my opinion. Now going to 2026, that's where I'm going to say, okay, let's see if we can really find out who the real Jorge Prado is. I did find one thing interesting, though. We were talking about the starts earlier. Prado lined up right next to Jett, both starts. And Jett obviously had first pick, so Jorge decided to go right next to Jett. And I just wonder if that was sort of a play, because there's been arguments that Jorge Prado is the best starter in the world. And we could have argued that until now. Now it's clear, and I'm sure he'll get better and better. But I think he got somewhat of a rude awakening to just how different the tracks can be over here, how limited time we have in practice. And these guys he's racing against have it completely figured out. They know exactly how the tracks are going to shape up. I mean, I could literally go race Budds Creek next week and take the exact same lines I took in 2014, and they're still going to work. You know what I mean? Like, for how the tracks develop. So these guys have all the history of racing over here for several years. It's all new for Jorge, but I'm not going to really judge him too harshly until 2026. I'm gonna give him a free pass.
I hear you on that, and I'm similar. I think that this year is really it really bummed me out, and it really set him back to have that shoulder injury and to miss all of Supercross.
Yeah.
Because now really you're talking about giving him a pass. He's kind of going to need a pass again in 2026 for Supercross.
For Supercross, yeah. I agree.
He'll have a kind of a full off season, hopefully. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I've talked about quite a bit, and I mean this, is he really does have, he's got a champion's mentality. The way that he views things, he's very positive, opportunistic, like just kind of strikes me as just an optimist in every sense of the word. He's a hard worker. He knows what it takes to be a champion. So whatever his ceiling is, and maybe that's not beating Jett or Chase or Eli ever, but whatever his ceiling is, I believe that he will reach it in time. The only thing that would keep him from doing that, and I've had experience with this, and I'm sure you have too, is when you're falling short of expectations, whether it's the teams or your own, things can start to happen pretty fast. You get real stressed out. You're not sleeping that good during the week. You're putting all of a sudden you get more nervous than usual. You're putting so much emphasis on it. Feels like do or die. So for him, especially being injured in Supercross, I think it's very important to block out all the noise of expectations. He could go 6-7, 7-6 for this entire season, but he's got to put the blinders on and just do his best and do his thing, because it can just be really easy to start compounding the mistakes when you're not kind of reaching the level you thought you were. That being said, it's round one. He just spent 3 months on the couch. He's never come over. He's never even raced one race in Pro Motocross. He talked about it. I believe it was in between. I think it was the interview before the first moto. He just talked about how insane the limited track time is. Like, and it's different than Supercross. Even Supercross, you get free practice. For outdoors, you go out there and you literally do 2 laps, sometimes 1.
Yeah.
You get the green flag and it's time to go.
It's game
so,
on. Yep.
Yeah, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's one round in, and I thought he did fine. That was about where I expected of him. I think as we get kind of into the season, we get to the Red Buds, the Southwicks, the Millvilles, I think that he'll excel there as long as he can. Not sure how good he is in the heat or not. That'll be something he has to overcome. But fine day, I think, for Jorge. No reason to panic, no alarm bells. I was pleasantly surprised and impressed with Jason Anderson's second moto
That was
performance.
good, huh?
I did not have Jason Anderson beating Jorge, especially Jason taking some time away from the sport, coming back. Not sure. I think he's only been riding for 2 or 3 weeks outdoors. I think that's what they said on the broadcast. So for him to be that strong late in the second moto, I thought that was really cool to see for Jason. It's cool to see him back.
Yeah, really cool to see Jason back and doing that well late in that moto, like you said. That was cool to see. The track at its worst. You're the most tired you've been in a long, long time. First race of the year, and he seemed pretty motivated. Get a top 5 in that second moto. That was pretty impressive. But I want to touch on Jorge just one more thing, Adam, and get your opinion on this. My only concern about what you were saying is Jorge knows nothing else except for winning. It's all he's done his whole life. You mentioned the winner's mindset, championship mindset. We talked about it on Race Day Live through Supercross, and I agree with all that. But how is he going to take losing week after week, month after month, and potentially year after year? That's my only concern. As you think about through the summer, do we think he wins a motocross race? Does he get an overall? I personally don't think so. I think if everyone stays healthy, I don't think he does. And that's my personal opinion, because I think Jett and Eli and Hunter, they're just so good. Dude. I think Jorge slots in. Too. Yeah, Jorge slots in that next group, AP, J. Coop, Webb, those guys. Now, okay, so that's all the summer. Now we go to SMX. Jett's unbelievable. Hunter's unbelievable. Eli Tomac is unbelievable in those races. Once again, something new for Jorge. So I don't think he wins any of those. Now going into Supercross, I definitely don't think he wins any Supercross, maybe even not even get a podium for 17 weeks. And he has to stay healthy through the offseason. So that's my only concern, is this winning mindset. And you mentioned his ceiling. I 100% agree with that. I think he's able to reach his ceiling with his mentality. But is he okay with that ceiling being a 4th or 5th place guy? That's my only concern moving forward for Jorge.
Well, I'm just going to put it to you straight. He's never going to win in America like he won in the MXGP. The talent that there's amazing talent over there. I'm not taking I got a lot of respect for those GP guys. They are gnarly. But just coming over a new series, there's Jett, maybe the best we've ever seen, Chase, Eli. It's just there's too much talent. It's really hard, unless you're Jett Lawrence, it's really hard to be dominant. It really is insane that anybody could actually do that. But for Jorge, here's kind of the predicament is if you approach it the exact same way that you did in MXGP when you were winning all the time, it's going to drive you insane. Like I talked about, like not sleeping. Like if you have that mentality, like you want to win, and you're going out there and getting 6th, getting 7th, like that's not a sustainable way of life. You're not going to be able to cope with that. So to me, the challenge is, how do you view losing? How do you view this next year or so for him as part of the process of reaching your full potential? And I think this is where I learned a lot kind of in my career, towards the later stages of my career, is sometimes you got to fake it till you make it a little bit. But you got to we talked about it with Tomac. You have to just do your best, your absolute best. And it's really hard, because you could do your best and not get a trophy, and you're pissed off, and you don't have bonus money, and the team's bummed on you, the fans are bummed on you, and you're wondering, why the hell did you come here?
Yeah.
But he's got to lock in and focus on just doing his best and viewing whatever he does in the next year as part of the process of reaching his full potential. To me, that's the only way you can go about it, because I've been there. I've been there, coming back from injury, and just had my trainer, my bosses telling me, we just need you to get through the year. We just need you to get through the year. And I remember 2016 outdoors. I went out there and I was like a 5 to 10 guy, dude. And it killed me. Like it was so difficult every single weekend to accept that. And so he's got a challenge. He's got a challenge on his hands.
From the team as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Overlook that, or like they're paying him to win. So
they're paying him winning money, that's for sure.
Yeah, when does it get frustrating from the personnel side? Like, hey, man, all right, we told you to get through these races, but now, I mean, come on, dude. Like, we need you to
start doing something.
Yeah, we need you to start doing something now. So I hope he can get to that point, and I hope he can get some breakthrough rides that makes everybody happy at some point. But I really think it's going to be a while. I just do.
I think he's going to have a pretty fast teammate with a single-digit number to follow in the offseason.
What number, Adam?
What do you think?
9? The 9 looked pretty good this week.
No,
dude.
I said good. Fast, dude. I said fast. We'll leave it there. We should get to 250s.
Hold on, I got to touch on one more guy that I feel bad for, and I don't know if we should feel bad for him. I want to get your take, but dude, Hunter Lawrence is so good. We don't talk about him enough. He's so good.
And man, it would be so frustrating to be that good, to be as amazing. I mean, Hunter's going to have a long, good career. He's going to make a lifetime worth of income. He's going to do well, contend for championships. It's got to be hard, dude. It's got to be hard when your little brother's the best dirt bike racer that's ever walked planet Earth.
Right.
But really impressive for Hunter. And I think going back to our conversation about discipline, it's the same for Hunter. There's nothing that can happen in the course of a race, no matter what's gone on previously in the season, or there's nothing that can happen that takes him outside of his own process. I'm a big NBA guy, right? And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best, Oklahoma City Thunder, point guard, one of the best in the league right now. They always talk about, and you can see it. There's nothing that the game, it never gets sped up for him. He always plays at his own pace, and that's Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
That's Hunter. No matter what's going on, he's so disciplined with the way he rides the motorcycle, and to me, that's just as impressive as, his podium after being just the way that he goes about his business. Very level-headed guy. And I talked about it. I remember talking about it at Dallas SMX playoffs last year, but just the place he's come from too, where his career was looking real bleak. Every time he got on a Supercross track, he broke a collarbone for 2 years, and where he's built himself to now, super impressive.
Yeah. And I think I have a little bit, I don't know, it's not a soft spot, but I really am a huge fan of Hunter Lawrence, mainly because I had a front row seat to those days that you're talking about, AC. I mean, literally could not do a dragon's back. Like, had to really be so disciplined. He got hurt a couple times on a dragon back at the Honda track. I was there days where he was 3, 4, 5 seconds a lap slower than everyone. But it was just that discipline you're talking about, that him and Johnny O and his family had a plan of like, hey, we're going to slow roll this. We're not going to be fast today at the test track, but we're going to learn how to hit these whoops. We're going to learn this dragon back. We're going to learn these rhythm lanes and put all these pieces of the puzzle for years to come. And I remember days where I'm thinking, man, like, I don't know if he's got it. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you, there were like 3 or 4 seconds a lap on a Supercross track.
That's insane, dude.
And then there would be days where it just was not looking good. And he's clawed and battled his way through injuries. And then he gets that win at Dallas a few years ago in the 250 class. Then he wins the championships. And now he's literally one of the best 450 riders on the planet.
Yep.
And
in both Supercross and motocross.
Supercross and motocross, which is so hard to come by. A lot of times we have these good Supercross, bad motocross, good motocross, bad Supercross guys. And now he's both. And yeah, it's just so impressive. So I'm a huge fan. I just wanted to mention him because a podium, I'm once again overlooked a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
Because of his brother is that good. Hunter Lawrence deserves some credit. Getting a podium on the day, going 3-4, getting passed by AP late in that second moto, made a mistake to get past. But yeah, Hunter's going to be in this thing all year long, mainly because of his starts. And obviously he's got the speed, but Hunter Lawrence, man, he's good. And no one talks about him enough.
He's good. He's good. AP, solid ride. Second moto, he was right there. He's feeling real loose there in the beginning, dude. I thought he was going to pass Jett.
He was feeling
crazy.
Good. He was feeling good.
Crazy.
He put the twin walls back on the bike. You see that? Went from fat bar to twin wall. I like that. I like that play.
I don't. I hate that. I hate that. I'm a fat bar guy, dude. More flex. You don't go to a standard bar at Fox Raceway, dude. It's so chattery.
I know. I wonder why, because that would be, I'm pretty sure it's the same bend so the 996 with a crossbar is the same bend as an 827 fat bar Renthal.
Okay.
And so he must just be looking for some stiffness, I would think, because he's ran the fat bar.
He does run his bike pretty soft.
Yeah.
Looked a lot better than Chase's bike, tell you that. Justin Cooper too, first moto, second place. Yeah, I mean, Jett was managing the lead, I imagine, most of the time, but still, I mean, he's 4 or 5 seconds back for most of the time, so he was moving.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's one of his best tracks either, so solid there. But 250 class, I mean, I think we all knew what was coming.
Yeah.
We all knew what was coming. But Hayden Deegan, class of the field, I mean, pretty, as James Stewart said on the broadcast, looked like a pretty easy day for him.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I mean, he got to the lead, just managed it. Looked like he was having fun on the bike. Looked like things were coming easy to him. Pretty decent starts. Would love to see him get a whole shot at some point. That's all. At this point with Hayden, he's so good. I find myself kind of comparing his skill set to the top guys in the 450 class, and like seeing what will translate. And that's the only thing I thought. It's the only thing I can find with Hayden right now. He's so damn good. He's just going to have to figure out how to be a little more consistent out of the gate. like by the time he gets to the 450 class. But wow, just the way the guy rides, more of like a Tomac style than a Jett style. And what's so impressive, and what I've said a million times, but how that style, how he's able to adapt it to every different condition is really impressive to me. And of course, what was he, 19 still? 19, 20, something like that. I think he's just a really well-rounded racer. It's the same type of thing. Like, he's a little bit more aggressive than, say, a Hunter or a Jett, but nobody ever throws him off his own process. He never gets rattled. There's a moment in the race, in the second moto, he was kind of coming through the pack, and we'll get to Joe Shimoda here in a second because he rode well. But Joe was behind him. He was getting held up by the ride. Hayden was getting held up by the rider in front. And Hayden looked back over his shoulder, which typically, as a racer chasing, if you're chasing a guy and he looks back at you, you're like, I got this guy.
Got him.
I got him. But Hayden looked back, saw Joe, and it's those little moments in the course of a race. It's those little moments where the great ones excel and the great ones perform. And he looked back, saw Joe, and just dropped the hammer, did what he needed to do. Had he gone backwards, had Joe rattled him, Joe got by him, then like the whole day could have been a lot different. But it's all in those little moments, just his mental strength, his motivation, determination, whatever you want to call it. Impressive, JB.
11-0. We winning all
know,
11?
dude. I don't know. That's we're a little early for 11-0.
It's not too early, dude. I don't think he goes 11-0, but we can start the discussion. If he wins the next two, we can start talking about it.
So, James Stewart, has anybody in the 250 class ever won all the races? I know no perfect season, but has anybody ever won every single race?
I'm not sure.
I think the closest anybody came was James Stewart in 2004. He won every single moto except a moto at Southwick where his bike broke, I believe. So, I don't know. He could be the first one to go 11-0. Talk about recency bias, dude. We're about to get flamed in these comments right now. But I do think that what he showed this past weekend, I think he's better than he was last year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And yeah, I would say pretty predictable the way he won, how he got it done, better than everyone. I will say it was kind of funny in qualifying when he was already up on the podium going to get interviewed for fastest time.
Yeah.
And then Hymas laid on. You actually text me, you're like, the number 10 or your guy at 10 is rolling right now, and he threw down that lap time. And Hymas is like, get out of there. Come on. That's my stage right now. So that was pretty funny. And then Hayden just came back in the motos and said, nah, today's mine.
And I think there's Julian, based off what we've seen this weekend, Julian, Chance, Joe. I think there's guys that can do it, that can beat him. But there's nobody even close to as sure of themselves as Hayden is. Like, nobody in the 250 class rides with that much conviction. Hayden knows exactly what he's doing. Like, he's got a game plan. He knows he's going to the front no matter what happens in the course of a race. You can tell, and I know you can tell the same thing, Justin. You can watch a rider ride and know when he's questioning himself. And Hayden is the only guy that there's none of that. There's none of that. No matter what happens, he knows he's the best guy. Like, it's only a matter of time in his mind. And so I think that's when, because, like, do I think Chance Hymas can go as fast as Hayden? Yeah, absolutely.
He already proved that, huh?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely. But he doesn't have Hayden's mentality as of right now. And of course that has to be kind of built over time. But to me, that's why, if there's a case for 11-0, that's why. It's just the conviction in which Hayden goes about his business.
For the whole day, right? For both motos throughout the day to stay mentally strong in between the motos. And look, if Hymas beats him in Moto 1, can Hymas beat him in Moto 2? That's where I think the 11-0 week could be a talking point. To exactly your point, throughout the whole day, he's so sure of himself, even if he gets beat in a moto here and there. But the other guys, can they put together a full day that's better than Hayden? It's going to be really difficult to do. But your boy Shimoda, he got rid of the cats, dude. He got some dogs. He had a little dog in him this weekend.
He did. And we saw it. Look, Joe's Supercross season was disappointing for me. After Anaheim won, I know he had the injury, but I was bummed. I was bummed. I just thought, I just think Joe's better than that. And Weege mentioned it on the broadcast this weekend, but got to remember, back at the end of 2023, the first year of the SMX playoffs, towards the end of Outdoors, Joe Shimoda was like the guy in the 250 class. Like, he was Hayden and Joe. Coming into Anaheim in 2024, it was like, this is Joe's title. And so he has that ability, but he's just a different dude. Joe's just a different dude, and I don't know what he has to find to go out there and do it consistently, but there's something with Hayden specifically. We saw it at Seattle Supercross this year. You and I calling the race for the stadium, and Hayden was coming through the pack, and Joe was probably going 2 seconds a lap slower than Hayden, but he managed to keep him behind him for like 5 laps because he kept just running into the side of him. So Joe's clearly motivated to beat Hayden for whatever reason. Maybe he just straight up doesn't like the dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm here.
But Joe does have that type of ability, and he's really strong. Maybe one of the only guys that I feel confident that fitness-wise can match Hayden, like, in the second moto towards the end of the race. He's that good.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because you don't really think of Joe as that guy, but he can fully match him, I guess. He's proved it time and time again. But I mean, you trained with him. You obviously know him better than most. And yeah, to say that about him is pretty awesome to hear that from you, because you know him, like I said, better than a lot of guys who've been trained side by side with him. So yeah, that's going to be interesting moving forward. And Joe's in a contract year, so that'll be interesting. Does he stay at Honda? Does he, there's rumors flying all over the place of different teams that have put offers out to him. So once again, Joe's kind of got his stock back rising again. At one point, like you said, it was Hayden 1A and Joe 1B. And then when he signed his Honda deal, it was one of the most lucrative 250 deals maybe of all time. He was so wanted in that moment.
Yep.
And his stock has kind of went down a little bit, but now I'd say if he can continue doing this, it starts to rise again, just like that. I mean, how quickly things can change in our sport, right?
How quickly things can change. And sorry, JB, I was on my phone here. I was just looking at some results. One thing I have heard from, I guess, disclaimer here, I would never, like, when I speak on any rumors or anything, like even the Chase to Cowie rumor, for example, I'm not receiving more information than the rest of the paddock, right? I'm not hitting up Cowie being like, you guys signed Chase. So when I say these things, it's just a general talk in the pits is what I mean. I don't have any specific, like, personal source, but I have heard just around that Joe is not going to be on a red bike next year. He potentially might be on a green motorcycle. I have heard that.
I heard that a couple of days ago as well, which I find kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because he just left. Not that doesn't really happen much.
It didn't end well, right? There wasn't.
It's kind of at left. Yeah, it really didn't end that well, and I know there was definitely some friction there. I'm not entirely sure who with, but Joe kind of left PC kind of at the height of his power. Like, that was the end of that 23 season. Was like, okay, Joe's going to be a championship guy now. And he left. So if he were to come back, that would be super interesting move there. But anyway, yeah, that's just what I'm hearing. We'll see. We'll update you guys over the course of the year. Of course, Tom Vial Guy always finds a way to get a podium, Justin.
That's it.
My God.
Don't count him out.
He's always there. He's always there. It's 450 guy now, dude.
Yep, he is. He's going to be 450 guy. And I think if there's one guy that can challenge, especially now looking at the results, I mean, Kitchen down in 16th, going 10:38, obviously having a mechanical that second moto. Bummer. But he's already down a lot of points. Like, that's what can happen in motocross. You have a bad moto, boom, there's 25 points right there, and Hayden going 1-1. So I feel like down the stretch, I'm not sure if Joe can hang with Hayden. But I think if anyone's going to be there to capitalize, look no further than Tom Vial. I mean, he's done it time and time again in Supercross. He gets great starts. There's really not a track that he has a weakness on. I can't think of one where, he's just not good in the sand. No, he's great in the sand. And you think of tracks we're going to go to on the East Coast. So, yeah, I think if somebody can really challenge Hayden for this title, it's going to be Tom. Of course, I think Chance, he maybe has the most speed here in the 250 class. Would you agree?
Even than Hayden?
Even more than Hayden? Like just flat out raw speed?
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
It's close, but yes, I do think Chance is definitely an outdoor guy. He's 100% an outdoor guy.
And I don't know why. I don't know if I like that so much.
Well, I wouldn't like it if I was Chance, because it's way harder to maintain to have a long career as a factory rider in professional dirt bike racing if you're good at outdoors and not that good at Supercross.
Yeah.
Like, good luck. You'd be making about $75,000 a year.
Yeah, the hard part is he's great at Supercross, but I feel like I don't know. I think like after 3 rounds of Supercross, he was already so pumped on motocross and already leaning that way. And I'm already riding motocross and this and that. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, what we're still racing Supercross, and he can be great at Supercross. So I don't know. I don't know where the disconnect there from January to May is, but he's obviously very fast at both. And I don't like to hear the just weighing so heavily towards motocross while we're only a few rounds into Supercross. I don't know, because I think he can be a Supercross champion and a motocross champion. He could be one of the guys that really good at both, but it seems like as of late, to your point, he's a motocross guy.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a flash in Supercross of what I've seen from him outdoors. He's clearly a great rider. I imagine he'll figure it out. Great kid as well. But yeah, I don't know. He's just like an elite guy outdoors. I'm just not sure if he doesn't have the confidence of Supercross, doesn't come naturally to him or what. But I can tell you that any factory team, any gear company, anybody is going to say it's 80-20. It's 80-20 Supercross, motocross. That's just how it works. Supercross is like our most mainstream form of racing. Outdoors is obviously incredibly important too. I would know I only have a Pro Motocross championship, so I'd like to say it's cooler, to be honest. But I do think that, Chance is an elite outdoor guy, and I do think that I cannot see Hayden beating him every single weekend. You got to imagine Chance has 1 or 2 in there at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Hey,
with that speed,
how about I thought Julian 5th place overall. I thought Julian Beaumer, I thought that was pretty good. I was really not sure what to expect from him outdoors. And I was really impressed with Garrett Marchbanks. It wasn't that great on paper. 6th overall. Dude, but he's got some pace. And he is a big boy. Like, he's probably 30 pounds heavier than 30 to 40 pounds heavier than 80% of the guys on the track.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to talk a lot about Garrett Marchbanks, but I think it's going to be the same story every weekend. Not great starts, good lap times, 5th place. I feel like we're going to have a lot of those. And it's a bummer because what do you do? How do you get better starts? Well, you have to lose some weight, but he can't really. I feel like he's thinned down even in the last several months, and there's at some point you just can't lose any more weight because then it starts to mess with your fitness and all of it. You start to go backwards. So, yeah, Big fan of Marchbanks, and to be the top PC guy, I don't know if I've seen that coming in either. Obviously,
Nope.
I would think Kitchen. I was really high on Hammaker. Could he, better his outdoor game with how great he was in Supercross? And we talk about Master Pool, and I will say all five guys were top 10 in qualifying. That was pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
hard to do.
it was pretty cool. I was surprised a bit. I thought Masterpool's first couple laps of the first moto, that pass around the outside to get into the lead on Moto 1 around the outside, that was
Nice.
super cool.
Yeah.
And I thought, Ty's second year on the motorcycle, I thought he would be a little bit better. Not sure if he had arm pump, just wasn't comfortable on the bike, or maybe he got tired. To me, it looked like maybe he was a little tired. I hate to, of course, I'm just speculating here, but I expect him to be, he's a rut guy. He's really good in ruts. And so I don't think maybe we'll see, I think we'll see Ty on the podium at Thunder Valley.
Yeah,
maybe not this next weekend in Hangtown, but he's got a lot of skill too. But this 250 class is deep, and we had some guys. Thrasher had a really bad day. Kitchen had a bad day. Drew Adams, I don't know, he's a rookie, so we give him a bit of a pass, kind of coming off an injury. But I do expect him to be closer to the top 5, kind of towards the end of the year, with just what I've seen in terms of bike skill that the kid has. So there's a lot of players in this 250 class, and could be, I don't know. You're right. Deegan is kind of far and away the best guy, but if he doesn't get those starts figured out, there could be some multiple different winners, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. There's definitely a lot of guys. I will say for Beaumer, 5.4 on the day. I even think in watching on paper, it's not as good as even just watching him. I think he took a big leap up already, just with getting out front like he was, getting some good starts, running up front early, and then I just think he'll learn the outdoor skills to be a race winner and then eventually a champion one day. So I really liked what I've seen from Julian, because look, a lot of people talk, is he just a Supercross guy? No, he's not quite as good in motocross. I think he proved last weekend that he's as good in motocross, so he could be one of the guys that eventual champions indoors and out.
I need to see him on some ruts, dude.
Yeah,
I got to see him on some ruts. We've talked about it so much this year about how he's a better kind of hard pack rider. And so I'm willing to go there. I do think that he has made a big step, but I just need some confirmation. Thunder Valley, High Point, tracks like that. Just need a little bit more confirmation there. But Justin, I told you I do have an upcoming tea time. So I would love to get into some fan questions.
Let's do it.
Perfect. All righty, boys. So the first one that we got here is Chase Crash, explain what happened. Just as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he threw his goggles and then he landed off that finish line jump and his foot was on the brakes. I think Adam explained it perfectly earlier in the show, just the indecisiveness of when to go into the pits, when to not, landed on his back brake, most likely stalled the motorcycle, and over the front he went. I think a lot of people assumed he hit neutral, but it definitely wasn't neutral.
Have you ever done that? Justin landed, stomped the rear brake on accident?
I don't think I have.
Oh, I have.
Just stalls the bike pretty much, right? Especially if you don't have the clutch in.
Man, I went through a phase when I was a kid where I rode on the heels of my boots so bad. And there's multiple times I overshot a jump and just stomped that rear brake, dude. And same thing Chase did. Your whole body weight gets thrown forward. You get the handlebars right in the gut. It knocks the wind out of you. Bad deal. But I just wonder what he's hurt, because it didn't look, he's taken way harder hits.
He has,
than that. I mean, way harder. So it didn't look like something that could, like a AC separation, or didn't look like even maybe a super mild concussion.
That's what I was thinking.
If he hit just the right way, sometimes it's not about exactly how hard you impact the ground, but it's the spot on your head that you hit. So we'll see, but we hope he's out there soon.
Next one I have for you guys. You guys talked about it a little earlier. Were you surprised at Prado's performance? Do you see him getting better?
Yeah,
Yeah, we kind of.
he's got a hall pass for me. 2025, judge him in 26.
Yeah, I would like to see the thing that I would like to see in pro motocross is just some flashes, like lead 5 laps or um, a late charge for like a backdoor podium at Red Bud in the second month, just something.
Hmm.
Like just show me some flashes, and I think for fans, for the team and sponsors, for himself, I think that would go a long way in kind of maintaining good morale.
Yeah, and when I say hall pass, like he went what 7-6 on the day for sixth overall. That's more than a hall pass. I want to see like what you're saying. That even to me still is giving him a hall pass, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I hear you.
This one's kind of talked about. Do you see anyone able to match Deegan's late moto charge and endurance?
Go for it, AC.
Late moto charge and endurance. I think I kind of said this, kind of touched on this already, but I do think Joe. I do think Joe is fit. I think sometimes he really shows up on Saturdays and sometimes he doesn't. On those days that he shows up, yes, I do believe that he can go to the end if he has that conviction. But there's nobody on the track right now as determined to win as Hayden Deegan. And so it's going to take a lot in order to beat him for anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just the willingness and want to win and that determination. I think about Charlotte SMX, or no, maybe it was Vegas SMX, where he's launching the single like further than anyone and didn't even have to at that moment, like was already going to be the SMX world champion. But it's just the want to get up there and win and to keep his persona going. You know what I mean? Like Hayden
Yep.
Deegan, there's a certain persona, and if he continues to do what he does, he can continue living up to that, and he doesn't want to lose that. So his willingness towards the end of the races is just it's unmatched.
Do we see Jett and Eli separate from the rest of the pack for the entire season?
No, I think you'll see other guys up there. I do think they're the best two guys, but I also think you'll see Hunter up there at times. I think Jorge will get better, like Adam said. I think Chase, when he comes back, he's going to match him at the front as well. So, yeah, I think they'll end up 1-2 in points, but I think there'll be other guys to be able to match them at times.
Here's a question. So if Chase is, I don't know for sure. Like I said, just words in the pits. If Chase is signed on another brand, say he has a concussion, he's got to sit out a couple more races. Is there a possibility that he doesn't come back at all?
Oh, I don't know. Depending on the injury, but I don't think so. I think there's too
Right?
much at play. There's too much, like now with SMX and everything, if he
Yeah.
could just come in, he still has a chance to be the number one seed going into SMX. I believe he has
True.
been the number one seed the past 2 years, and that helps a lot, especially with Jett and Eli down so many points. So he could still be. I just think there's so much more to race for nowadays. I think the old format AC potentially, because as soon as motocross ends, you could get on the new bike. Where now I think with SMX, it has a totally different. Um, I guess you have a different mindset towards it now,
Mm-hmm.
and to try and win all of SMX, there's so much more money on the line as well. So
I get it.
I think he comes back.
10-4.
Who was the biggest surprise and who's going to step it up in 250s?
Who was your surprise, Adam? 250 class.
Man, I don't really think I was surprised much. I guess the biggest surprise in 250s I would say would probably be Garrett Marchbanks.
I agree. Yep.
He was the guy where I was like, yeah, I thought he would be honestly maybe 8 to 12 in my mind, and I thought he outperformed what I thought he would. And he's always had a lot of speed. It's just when he channels it and when he doesn't. And so yeah, I think Garrett.
I think for me, I'll go somebody different. I agree with that. That would be my first choice. I'm going to go a little further down in the pack. 14th overall, Parker Ross, 16-12. That second moto,
Solid.
12th. Like it's not many people are going to talk about him. That's a pretty solid result.
Yeah, I played golf with Parker in the off season. Good kid.
Nice.
Good kid. So, he switched teams, yeah?
Yeah, he's on a Yamaha now. Rode Hondas
Yamaha.
for a long time.
Those things are pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one
for
who's
him.
going to step up, I mean, I think we probably agree, Levi Kitchen, 1038. I mean, he's going to
That ain't it.
get better, right?
That ain't it.
Yeah.
Got to be better.
The last one I got is this person asked, how would you guys finish?
Is AC in his prime, or is he
Am I just right now?
last week prep?
I have no idea. They just said, how would you guys finish? But let's go, 2020 AC, how would you finish?
2020 AC, how would I finish? Let's see. I'm not beating Eli or Jett, obviously. I think 2020 me is battling for the 3 spot with like Jake Coop, Hunter, those guys. The sport has come, like the speed is higher than it was back then. But I think I find a way to battle for a podium.
Yep. I agree with that. And where would I finish? At my peak motocross form, Paula, not a great track for me. Man, I'm probably right around. Man, honestly, like Anderson is so good, and he got 7th overall.
Dude.
So probably,
He's so
honestly,
good.
probably around like right around there, 7th, 8th. Savachi's 8th.
Humble.
Yeah.
Humble.
I mean, I'm pretty realistic. Now, when we go east, there's some tracks that I could.
Yeah, you're an old junkyard dog, dude. You can be there late in the end. You need to be hot, rough.
Yeah. Who knows though? These guys are so good. It's crazy.
They're so good, man. They're so good. JB, it's a pleasure as always. We didn't touch on it, but I did put together. I ordered a desk on Amazon, and I put this thing together by myself. And keep in mind, I just don't do stuff like that. I just don't. And I'm trying. I'm like, retired from racing now, so I don't really have an excuse. Like, not going to hire some. I couldn't take it to like hire somebody to come put this desk together for me. But it was in like 90 different pieces, and so I do have it set up. So I'm expecting the studio to look a little better. I know there's some people bummed out there with my white wall in the background. I'm probably going to leave the white wall because I like it. I think it's clean, minimal look. But we may be out of desk next week, so you've got that to look forward to.
Nice. You're in the retirement phase where you feel like you want to be a guy that can do things himself.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna quickly find out. I went through that phase where I'm like, man, I'm gonna be a do-it-all type of guy. Nah, man, there's just certain things I pay people to come do.
Yeah, totally.
There's just certain things that I'm like, now I could probably do that, but it's gonna take 3 days, and this guy could come over and do it in an hour.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah.
A desk is about my ceiling. So
nice.
JB,
hey, well, let's at least high 70s, low 80s today with Jett. Come on, we need a good showing.
Dude, I know. I got to be better. I did play that scramble yesterday. It was pretty swings a little bit better. I'm kind of working on this new feel, but I'll have a report for you and our audience next week.
Awesome. Have fun.
Thanks, guys.